Have you ever stopped to think that what you believe is protecting you might actually be harming you? It seems exaggerated, but it's not. Every year, more than 600 million people around the world get sick from eating contaminated food. And even more shocking, around 420,000 people end up dying because of it. The elderly are among the most vulnerable. As time passes, the immune system weakens, making the body less prepared to fight infections. According to international health organizations, such as the CDC, the risks increase significantly at this stage of life. Now, what many don't realize is where many of these problems begin. Inside your own refrigerator. Yes, that appliance you rely on to keep everything fresh could be silently putting your health at risk. Recent research has revealed that improperly storing certain foods in the refrigerator can not only destroy important nutrients, but also create harmful chemical reactions and increase the risk of food poisoning. The frightening thing is that most people don't even realize it. And look, the number one food on this list will surprise you. Not only does it lose almost all of its benefits when refrigerated, it also begins to develop dangerous substances. Stay until the end, because what you'll discover here could literally save lives. Before continuing, leave a comment to let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy this type of content, give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. Now, let's get started. Number 9. Tomatoes. Do you usually store tomatoes in the refrigerator? If so, it might be time to rethink that habit. The cold does more than just dull the flavor. It directly affects the structure of the food. According to a study published by Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, low temperature permanently deactivates genes that are essential for the tomato's natural aroma, color, and flavor. Furthermore, cold temperatures destroy a significant portion of lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that helps protect the heart, prevent premature aging, and even reduce the risk of some types of cancer. In other words, by putting tomatoes in the refrigerator, you not only remove their flavor, but also discard much of the health benefits they could offer. The tip is simple. Store your tomatoes at room temperature, in a well-ventilated place, and away from direct light. This way, you'll preserve their flavor and nutrients, while still making the most of everything they offer your health. Number 8. Onion. Now let's talk about the onion, which is present in practically every recipe. If you're used to keeping it in the refrigerator, you've probably seen some strange transformations happen. It gets soft, starts to sprout, or even takes on a slimy texture. This happens because the refrigerator is a humid environment, which encourages exactly what you don't want: germination, mold growth, and accelerated rotting. What's more, onions have the ability to absorb odors and contaminants very easily, which can affect not only the onion itself, but also other foods it comes into contact with. Most worryingly, however, cold temperatures break down the onion's cellular structure and compromise the presence of alliin, a substance with antibacterial and anti-cancer properties. In short, refrigerating onions not only spoils them faster, but also drastically reduces their health benefits. According to the American Institute for Cancer Research, allicin, that powerful compound we hear so much about, needs a stable environment to maintain its effectiveness. And guess what? The refrigerator is anything but stable. Moisture destroys this valuable substance before it even has a chance to work in your body. So, where should you store your onions? The best way is simple. Place them in a cloth or knitted bag in a dry, airy place away from light. And avoid storing them near potatoes as much as possible. These two may seem harmless, but together they accelerate each other's deterioration. Speaking of which, if all this sounds worrisome, wait until you see the next item on the list, because it can, indeed, develop potentially carcinogenic substances when stored improperly. Number 7. Bread. You know that habit of putting bread in the fridge thinking it'll last longer? Well, bad news. The cold of the fridge activates a process called starch retrogradation, which makes the bread harden inside, lose its flavor, and even appear stale, even though it's within its expiration date. But that's not the biggest problem. The bread's movement from the refrigerator to room temperature and back again creates condensation. This internal humidity creates a perfect environment for mold to grow. And that's where the real danger comes in. Molds can produce mycotoxins, toxic substances that affect the nervous system, liver, and immune system. The National Cancer Institute has warned about the risks, especially for older people. So what to do? Simple. If you're not going to eat it right away, freeze the bread in portions. But refrigerate it? Never again. Number 6. Potatoes. Potatoes. So versatile, so beloved, and so sensitive to cold. When stored in the refrigerator, they begin to convert their natural starch into sugars. It may seem harmless, but this chemical change has serious consequences. When frying or baking these refrigerated potatoes, the newly formed sugars react with an amino acid called asparagine. This reaction results in the formation of acrylamide, a substance considered potentially carcinogenic by the European Food Safety Authority. In other words, those golden, crispy potatoes could be hiding an unseen danger. The best way to store them is in a dark, cool, dry, and well-ventilated place. Refrigerator? Absolutely not. And if you thought that was serious, the next item involves a toxin capable of causing paralysis. Yes, we're talking about something really serious. Number 5. Garlic. Garlic is practically a natural remedy. It's antibiotic, antifungal, antiviral, heart-strengthening, and immune-boosting. But all of this can go down the drain if you store it in the refrigerator. The humid environment of the refrigerator favors the growth of Clostridium botulinum, a bacterium that produces the dreaded botulinum toxin, the cause of botulism. This is a rare but extremely serious disease that attacks the nervous system and can cause everything from muscle weakness to respiratory paralysis. And who is at risk? Once again, the elderly. Additionally, cold weather causes garlic to become sticky, sprout quickly, and lose its allicin, the compound responsible for much of its therapeutic effects. Ideally, store it in an open glass jar or a cloth bag in a dry, airy place. Simple, right? And now comes a food that many people think has to go in the fridge. But by doing so, you could be taking away all the good things it has. Number 4, honey. If honey is truly pure, it never needs to be refrigerated. When you refrigerate it, its sugars begin to crystallize quickly. The result? A thicker, whitish honey that loses aroma, texture, and flavor. But the biggest problem is this. In an attempt to decrystallize honey, many people heat it directly in the microwave or in a pan. And that's where the danger lies. Heat destroys essential enzymes like invertase, glucose oxidase, and other substances responsible for honey's antibacterial benefits. In other words, by trying to correct a mistake, you eliminate exactly what makes honey a medicinal food. The tip is clear. Keep honey out of the refrigerator, tightly closed, and stored in a dark, dry place. According to the Journal of Food Science, heating crystallized honey above 40 degrees Celsius is enough to eliminate almost all of its bioactive compounds. Now imagine the impact of consuming honey that, in addition to being refrigerated and heated, is also adulterated. That is, mixed with sugar syrups. Ultimately, what you're putting into your body may just be a sweet syrup, without any health benefits. The correct way to store honey is quite simple. Keep it at room temperature, tightly closed, and away from light and moisture. This way, it preserves its texture, flavor, and, most importantly, its therapeutic properties. Now, what about that common habit of keeping coffee in the fridge? If you do that, you might be drinking something far from what real coffee should be. Number 3, coffee. Whether whole beans or ground, coffee should never be refrigerated. The reason is clear. It's extremely porous. This means it easily absorbs everything around it: odors, moisture, and even microorganisms present in the environment. The result? Coffee that smells like onions, tastes like nothing, and may even be contaminated. Furthermore, the essential oils present in the beans, which are responsible for that unmistakable aroma, oxidize much faster when the coffee is exposed to temperature variations. An oxidized coffee loses up to 70% of its antioxidants, according to data from Pestle-Tikofen. But it's not just a matter of taste. Improperly stored coffee can become more acidic, increase stomach irritation, and aggravate intestinal problems, especially in older people. The golden tip? Store your coffee in a tightly closed, opaque container in a dry, cool place away from light. This way, you preserve its flavor and protect your health. Now, if that already scared you, what comes next is even more surprising. Number 2, tropical fruits: banana, mango, pineapple. These fruits were born for hot weather. Refrigerating them before they're fully ripe is a mistake that can compromise not only their flavor, but also their nutritional quality. When placed in the refrigerator while still green, the natural ripening process is forcibly interrupted. This causes a series of internal changes. The fruit's cell walls begin to rupture, dark spots appear, the texture deteriorates, and vitamin C, essential for the immune system, is virtually destroyed. And there's more. According to the Harvard Medical School, this deterioration process can stimulate internal fermentation, producing alcohol and gas. The result? Digestive problems, bloating, and even intestinal discomfort. The instructions are simple. Let these fruits ripen naturally outside the refrigerator. Only then, when they're ripe enough, can you store them for a short period in the refrigerator, and even then, only if necessary. But if all of this already seems serious, the last food on the list is the most dangerous of all, one that almost everyone consumes daily, without realizing what might be hiding in a simple container in the fridge. Number 1. Cooked rice. Present on tables around the world, rice is one of the most consumed foods on the planet. It's practical, inexpensive, and versatile. And for this reason, many people cook it in large quantities to have leftovers for the next few days. Here comes the common mistake: letting the rice cool naturally for a while, and then storing it in the refrigerator. It seems harmless, but it's not. The big problem is a bacteria called Bacillus cereus. It survives cooking because it forms heat-resistant spores. And when cooked rice sits at room temperature for more than an hour, these spores germinate, grow, and multiply rapidly. The result? Rice that appears normal, but can be contaminated with toxins that cause severe food poisoning, with symptoms such as nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and in more serious cases, dehydration and more dangerous complications, especially in the elderly. The solution? Simple. As soon as the rice has cooled slightly, within 1 hour of cooking, refrigerate it in a sealed container, and when reheating, heat thoroughly and evenly until heated through. And what happens if you consume this contaminated rice? Symptoms can appear within a few hours, usually between 1 and 5 hours after ingestion. Intense nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pain. And in people with weaker immune systems, such as the elderly, the effects can be even more severe. And the worst part? This can happen even if you've put the rice in the refrigerator. Do you know why? Because many people make a silent and dangerous mistake, putting still hot rice straight into the refrigerator. This generates condensation inside the container, i.e., extra moisture. And this moisture creates the perfect environment for bacteria to thrive. Another common mistake: reheating it incorrectly. If the rice doesn't reach an internal temperature of at least 74 degrees, the toxins formed by the bacteria aren't destroyed, and you end up eating a seemingly normal food that can cause serious harm. So, how do you safely store cooked rice? Here's a handy guide every kitchen should follow. Cool the rice quickly. Don't leave it at room temperature for more than an hour. One tip is to spread the rice out on a clean tray so it cools evenly and more quickly. Store in an airtight container and refrigerate as soon as it reaches room temperature. Consume within 24 to 48 hours. Many people store it for 3 or even 4 days, but the risk of poisoning increases significantly with each passing day. Reheat well. The rice should be piping hot inside, not just lukewarm. If you notice a strange smell, sticky texture, or excessive moisture, discard it. Don't risk it. In addition to the risk of contamination, cooked rice stored for too long also loses flavor, texture, and nutrients, especially brown rice, which has more natural oils and is more prone to going rancid and developing unpleasant flavors. Did you know that rice is one of the 5 foods most associated with food poisoning due to improper storage? The other 4 are pasta, boiled eggs, processed meats, and seafood. In other words, it's not just what you eat, but how do you keep, which makes all the difference. Now tell me, how long do you usually leave rice in the fridge? Have you ever experienced a similar situation? And if you think these 9 foods have covered everything, you're not done yet. What comes next may be even more important. Because it's not just about the foods, it's about the dangerous habits that many people have in the kitchen and don't even know about. These mistakes are so common that they rarely appear in videos, precisely because no one considers them dangerous. But the truth is, these mistakes can open the door to serious poisoning, silent contamination, and the loss of nutrients your body desperately needs, especially if you care for the elderly or someone with weakened immune systems. So, if you've made it this far, don't leave yet. Staying 2 more minutes could be all it takes to protect your health and the health of your loved ones. Extra error: cracked or poorly stored eggs. This mistake is more common than you might think, especially among older people. Many people store eggs directly in the refrigerator door, which seems practical but is a serious mistake. The refrigerator door is the place with greater temperature variation. Every time it's opened, the food inside undergoes small thermal shocks. In the case of eggs, this weakens the shell, and if there are invisible microcracks, or even cracks that have gone unnoticed, you're offering an open invitation for salmonella to enter. A salmonella, it's a highly dangerous bacteria that can cause severe food poisoning, with fever, vomiting, cramps, and diarrhea. And once again, the elderly and those with weakened immune systems are most affected. How to avoid: never wash eggs before storing. The shell has a natural protective film. Store eggs in internal location of the refrigerator, away from the door, in a clean container suitable for them. Check for cracks, and discard any eggs with visible signs of damage. And of course, always cook eggs thoroughly before eating. According to the FDA Safety and Inspection Service, an agency linked to the United States Department of Agriculture, eggs with cracks or fissures are highly vulnerable to contamination, especially in poorly organized refrigerators. And yes, salmonella can silently invade these eggs, resulting in symptoms such as fever, vomiting, and severe diarrhea. In the elderly, these reactions can worsen and lead to serious dehydration and infection. And there's another detail that many people overlook: the carton where the eggs come. Few realize that it can be contaminated with feces or bacteria from the industrial process. Storing this carton directly in the refrigerator, without cleaning or worrying about hygiene, is a common and dangerous mistake. What to do then? Store the eggs in the original packaging, as it helps protect and maintain ideal moisture. Place inside the refrigerator, away from the door and temperature variations. Never refrigerate eggs that are cracked, dirty, or have wet shells. And whenever possible, consume eggs well cooked, especially if immunity is low. Did you find this alarming? Then hold on a little longer, because the next mistake may seem like a hygienic habit, but in fact, it's destroying your gut microbiota without you noticing. Common mistake: washed and refrigerated fruit. Are you the type of person who, when you get home from the grocery store, rushes to wash all the fruit and put it straight in the fridge? Sounds right? After all, hygiene is essential. But in this case, the result might be the opposite of what you expect. When fruits like apples, pears, or grapes are washed and then refrigerated with water droplets still on the skin, you create a moist environment perfect for mold and bacteria to grow. And the problem is, the refrigerator does not kill these microorganisms. It only preserves them, and even spreads them, if they come into contact with other foods. The Journal of Food Protection published that bacterial growth in wet fruits can increase up to 300% in the first 3 days refrigeration, if they are not completely dry. Now think, a young organism can even handle this, but elderly with lower immunity can have serious consequences, such as intestinal infections, food poisoning, and silent inflammation. The solution is simple: wash the fruit before consuming. If you need to wash it first, dry it very well with paper towels. Store in containers dry and ventilated, away from ready-made or cooked foods. And never, ever, leave damp fruit in the refrigerator. Now tell me, do you usually wash all your fruit as soon as you get home from the grocery store and put it straight in the fridge? Leave a comment. This might help others who, like you, were just trying to do the right thing, unaware of the hidden risk. And so we come to the end of this list. And perhaps the main lesson here is this: the refrigerator, as useful as it is not a safe haven for all food. Some lose flavor, texture, and nutritional value. But others, without proper care, can become real health hazards, especially for those with weaker immune systems. The truth is that most of these mistakes don't happen out of ignorance, but out of habit. Habits passed down from generation to generation, never questioned. But now you know. Now you can change. Today, you no longer have any excuses to keep making the same mistakes. Take a look at your refrigerator today. Review what's stored inside. Share this content with your family, parents, grandparents, or anyone you live with, because sometimes a simple change in storage can mean fewer medications, fewer trips to the hospital, and more health at the table. What about you? Were you surprised by any of the foods on this list? Have you ever made these mistakes without realizing it? Tell us in the comments. Your story might open other people's eyes. It is clear, like this video. Share with those you love, and subscribe to the channels. Oh, you don't miss the next content on health, well-being, and natural living. Because taking care of your health starts in your kitchen. See you in the next video.